Hello, once again, ladies, gentlemen, boys, girls, whatever you may identify as or may not identify as. Welcome back to the Low High Podcast. As always, I am half your host, Marcello, and with me is the other half.
I'm Saleh.
And today we're going to talk about 2021. Not 2021 in general, but we thought it would be less eventful, and it really hasn't been.
No, this year has really been crazy because what happened? January, we saw a bunch of people that fail taking over the government, and now we're seeing a bunch of gamers on Reddit successfully taking over Wall Street. Truly, this has been a very eventful year so far.
Yeah, so this episode, we're going to talk about leveling up your bank account through GameStop stocks.
Just for a precursor, we actually, neither of us know anything about the stock market. Do not take our financial advice. Please seek out a certified financial advisor or just go on Reddit.
Yeah, or YouTube. Some read, but this is our hot take as kind of layman's. I've actually done a good amount of reading about it because it's a really curious thing. And basically we'll give you the lowdown. So like I'm sure at this point you've all heard about like the stock market and GameStop and everyone just becoming a millionaire.
Power to the players.
Power to the player. Oh, that totally should be their logo. I meant there's oh my god, that's actually comedy. I'm sorry. Anyway, so basically you can short in the stock market, and that's a large thing that hedge funds do, is like they would kind of do like these things called short squeezes where they would kind of dump a bunch of money and then they're pretty much guaranteed to make all of their money back, right? And so I guess on Reddit there's it was like
Wall Street bets.
r/Wall Street bets, and there's a couple hedge funds, right, that were going to short GameStop, and so instead this Reddit chain decided to like dump as much money into GameStop stocks as possible, causing a bunch of these hedge funds to lose like billions of dollars, which is awesome. Because it's awesome, right? Because for the longest time, all of these hedge funds and all of these people with all this money, all these larger players, like they've been doing this to the common people forever, and it's the market will reset, and this is what happens, right? So it's never been a problem when they do it to the people, quote unquote. But when the people do it to them, they're trying to put people in jail.
They're like, oh no, this should be regulated. Oh, we should freeze the stock market so we can readjust. This entire thing, I think, has been a very interesting, I'm not going to say experiment, but it's a very interesting demonstration on how the system is rigged. Because people could have always done this, right? But the stock market has always seemed so inaccessible for regular people. And now that individual consumers have shown the ability to do what these companies have been doing for literal decades, the companies are like, oh no, that's wrong. That shouldn't be allowed. Oh no, my yacht.
Dude, and exactly, their yacht. And the worst part is like, so you probably heard about Robinhood too. They limited trades on GameStop because of the volatility. Meanwhile, people have made billions of dollars off stocks in the volatility of the pandemic. So they stopped letting people buy those stocks, and you can only sell like GameStop, AMC, etc., which is literally just securing those hedge funds like losses. That's like mitigating their losses, because the more people that buy in, the more money they would lose, the more money that common people would make. And so Robinhood, literally a stock trading company, they actually had the fucking balls to go up and like limit the trade on that, as if people wouldn't notice or wouldn't get it and would be on their side.
See, it's crazy because I actually use Robinhood, and I actually had an option that I was going to sell today, but I couldn't sell because they froze trading. And for me, it's fucking crazy because, like, how are you going to call yourself Robinhood and then just stop operating when actual Robinhood type shit starts happening?
Oh man, and now they have like Robinhood has like 1 star. Everyone's going after Robinhood.
They literally committed corporate suicides for what? For some rich people, bro.
For real, they literally committed corporate suicide, and a lot of big players too, like Dave Portnoy, like the Barstool Sports. He has that big day trading following. He's ripping them a new one. Like they're getting a lot of pushback for this.
is
And what's
good.
yeah, it is good. And what's crazy too is like if you were on the up and up investing in GameStop at that low price, dude, it was at $50. Like actually, I think it was. I'm looking at 5 days right now. It was at like $122, $61 actually on Monday, and then just today, Thursday, it peaked at 488.
Wow.
So like these people, they actually made bank, dude. If you were on the up and up with this, like you made some serious bread.
See, I've been taking a look at some of the people on the Reddit, what they've been doing with their money. And it's actually really good because, they're paying for surgeries, paying off their
Mm-hmm.
student loans, giving a lot of money to charity, which all these big hedge funds would never do unless it was for a tax write off.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's been this whole push from mainstream media to make it look like this is a very bad thing when this is something that's been happening for decades in the course of big companies. Like, who was it? Let me check my phone. It was yeah, CNBC published an article. Oh, you made a killing in GameStop. Now comes the tax bomb, like to make people
Yeah,
afraid. Like, oh no, we have to pay taxes. Like,
dude. I mean, the amount of all this, I'm not going to just keep saying like big tech or whatever, but all these larger companies, the amount of pushback they're giving this, I guess we'll call it a movement, right? Because it kind of is, because people aren't selling, they're holding and continuing to invest kind of now at this point for a message, which is really dope. But like you said before, Apple won't what was it, they like paused your ability to review the Robinhood on the App Store, right? Because they were plummeting, I think. And like all these, CSNBC, even Vice is saying like, whoa, this is really dangerous for the stability of the lifeblood of the stock market. But like, shit, dude,
I
like
feel like people are acting like a bunch of people on Wall Street didn't literally gamble away America's entire economy not up to 2 decades ago. Because, okay, so what's really going to happen? Like, honestly, oh yeah, a bunch of people are investing in GameStop. It's gonna crash the stock market. How?
no, it's not crashing the stock market. It's just letting. I think it's like it's a big message. That's how I see it, at least. A bunch of people, normal ass people, like these weren't billionaires dumping like chunks at a time. Like these are just a group of normal people on Reddit, one of the most powerful tools in the world we've discovered. Just decided to kind of tell everyone to go F themselves and that they're not gonna let it fly anymore. Or in this particular instance, they're like, we're not gonna let it fly. And so it's kind of a show of power of like the people. That's how I see it, at least. Which is really cool.
I think it really shows the power of the internet because, okay, let's take a step back from talking about the whole GameStop and Reddit stock. Let's just talk about money in general.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like people really don't acknowledge that money is some made up shit.
It is. It's completely
Because
bullshit.
everything is made up, literally everything. And just
Mm-hmm.
because we've put so much value onto this thing that we made up, don't don't you think that the people who benefit the most from this system, who have the most money, don't
Of
you think
course.
that they'll do the most to make sure that the money always moves in their favor? And they're having such a big panic right now because the money literally is doing what it's, in quotes, supposed to do, move for everybody. But
Mm-hmm.
that's just not the way things are set up.
And
I
I'm sorry to cut you off, man.
No,
Keep
continue.
going. I was gonna say, just to bring it back to the internet, like just recent and how money's kind of, it used to be actually backed in gold, right? Like,
Yeah.
the dollar was backed in gold, and then that stopped because inflation, deflation, and now it's just like a fiat currency. So it itself has no intrinsic value. It's like whatever we decide it's worth. And recently with the internet, we've seen a lot of that change with like Bitcoin. This also basically just another fiat currency that we've decided has value, and now it's being traded on. It's like safe coins are tradable and like can be seen as collateral. So we're seeing this change in like what we decide as currency, and the internet kind of really allowed the people to vocalize their beliefs, or just to start picking their own. I don't know what you can. I guess not picking their own battles, but picking their own. Putting the cards in I don't know what I'm trying to say. Do you understand me, Sally? Like, am I just talking in circles?
No, I think I understand what you're trying to say. You're trying to break down the fact that people are, because of the internet as a tool, people are learning what they
Yes.
can actually do.
Yes.
And I
Yeah.
think we said it on a previous podcast, and knowledge is really the only thing that's free.
Mm-hmm.
And now the people have the knowledge to understand that they can actually move how the world works. So a lot of people who have been comfortable with other people's ignorance are getting a lot more afraid. And that's
Yes.
kind of fun to see.
Yeah. It is very fun. We've seen a lot of it recently.
I'm not gonna encourage anybody to buy any kind of stock because, as we said, we here on the Low High Podcast are completely neutral and we don't know anything about finances. So you do you. All I'm saying is that maybe, just maybe, you guys want to hop over to Reddit and just see what Wall Street Bets is talking about.
Yeah.
But that's not advice. It's just an opinion for any finance company who's gonna be listening in on this podcast. Not advice, just an opinion.
But it's a good opinion, in my opinion. I'm definitely, I mean, again, not to push, but I'm definitely I'm going to be checking it out, and I'm probably going to throw a stock or two into GameStop just because I want to be a part of this low key. It could totally get shorted and crumble from this point on, but I don't really think that's going to happen. Yeah, who knows?
We're living history.
We are living in history. So much history recently, bro.
No, really. These past 2 years, a lot has happened that people are really going to be talking about a long time from now.
Yeah. And you wouldn't even think, right? Because it sounds almost like a meme, right? Like, oh, GameStop's stock, a company that was dying like Blockbuster was, like, completely toppled how the stock market operates. I mean, it literally gave people who didn't already have billions to invest the opportunity, and it made a lot of them fucking rich.
He's crazy. No, this dude literally put in $5,000 in GameStop and he made like $90-something thousand.
Yeah, no, it's nuts. I mean, it unheard of almost.
See, for me, I feel like this is GameStop coming back full circle for a lot of people, because I remember I sold almost every PS2 game I ever had to GameStop, and they gave me like $2. Yeah. And now GameStop is making people millionaires. I believe the cycle is complete.
It all paid off.
It all paid off. Eventually, when the bubble bursts and GameStop shuts down permanently, it's all right. They've paid back their dues. Yeah,
they've paid their dues. For those who invested, I didn't get shit yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. But yeah, man, money is crazy. I mean, you don't even think about it, right? But money could literally buy you a country.
Literally. All these billionaires. Isn't it Mark Zuckerberg who literally has enough money to buy Jamaica?
I think so. I think Elon Musk just recently
became the richest man in the world. Yeah.
But that was creepy because that was like, I mean, obviously he's been at it for a while, right? But in terms of reaching that status, that happened like in under half a year.
Also, speaking of really rich guys, have you heard about that Chinese billionaire or millionaire Jack Ma, who was criticizing the Chinese government, and he's just been missing for a while, and nobody's talking about it?
I think I could just be wrong, but on Vice just recently put out a little episode about a person who was criticizing the Chinese government and market about corruption that moved to New York. And he's kind of living a nice life. That could be it. Let me look it up real quick, actually. Get some accurate information out there.
Word.
But in the meantime, while I'm doing this intense research, I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of at a loss for words because we're so freshly in it. I mean, this literally just happened today. Like, I'm scrolling through my phone, looking at Twitter and like Instagram and the 9gag, and like, dude, so much about it's only about the stock market and GameStop.
because this is a brilliant time. The people are actually taking their power back. I'm not really American, like, so, and it's always been fun to observe America from the outside, like, oh, man, these people are so ridiculous. But this
Yeah.
really has been amazing to see, because people have this kind of perception of America as, like, being a bunch of gun-toting dickheads. And don't get me wrong, a lot of Americans are racist gun-toting dickheads. But there's a lot of decent people here who have spent a long time being screwed over by the American establishment. Because think about it,
Hugely.
all these commercials you see for medicine, and then right after that, you see a commercial. If you took this medicine, you might be entitled to financial compensation. Like,
Hmm.
we have this system that's actively been destroying people's lives for decades, and nobody's really been able to do anything about it. And now this one little thing, a bunch of people on Reddit cyberbullying billionaires might actually end up making real changes.
And that's the crazy part, is like, you just never would have thought about this or heard about this, but here we are living through it. And it is literally just people on Reddit cyberbullying hedge funds, which is the best part, bro.
It's the funniest shit I've ever seen.
I mean,
Like,
I'm like, have we been missing it this long? Like, was it always that simple?
that's the thing. It just might have been.
I think it was.
Because, dude, they're not doing anything illegal. You can't say that
No.
they're breaking the law. They're just giving opinions. They're like,
Investing.
oh, I like this stock. Oh yeah, that stock looks pretty cool. I like that stock too, bro.
And it's GameStop out of everything. But back to the previous thing, the exiled Chinese billionaire who uses YouTube to wage war on corruption is the title of the Vice thing, and it is not the person you said, but it is. I'm gonna butcher this, so I'm just gonna spell it out: GUO space WENGUI. So
All right.
different man, but still relevant, I guess. But the part that gets me about money, right, is like, and how I hate saying everything's corrupt because it makes me sound like a dick or like pessimistic or just like a gaslighter. But like, dude, there wouldn't be rich. You can't have rich people without having poor people. They're dependent on each other.
Oh no, for sure.
And so that's the part that fucks me up, right? Because it's like, it sounds so sinister and so far out to think like that, but like, people literally could not possibly be rich unless there were poor people. And you kind of hear that and you're like, okay, well, as someone somewhere in the middle, I'm like, if I was rich, naturally you'd keep it that way. So it's, I don't really know what I'm trying to. I mean, I know what I'm trying to say, and it just sounds so. I sound crazy when I say it, but like, literally, rich people have so much power and sway in the world, and they design it so that way there will always be poor people to keep them rich, which is really fucked up.
And I think it's kind of been ingrained into our consciousnesses. I've read up on it. It's called the just world theory.
Yeah.
This whole idea that we're raised to see that the world functions how it's supposed to be, how there's no imperfections, like how somebody who lives an affluent lifestyle can see a bunch of homeless people on the street. They don't know anything about these homeless people. They don't know their past or their situation. And maybe they feel sad about it for a few minutes, but then their brain automatically just reconciles it. That, okay, if they're homeless, they probably deserve to be homeless. There's nothing I can do about it. I'll just do my best not to end up like them. And it's
Right.
not until they end up like them that they realize that there's so many factors that lead to things like homelessness. I'm of the opinion that homelessness is a failure of society.
It
like,
is.
yeah, there's some, like, people can do something, like, you can mess up and you can end up homeless. But a lot of homeless people are just people that really bad things happen to. Like, a whole lot of homeless people are military veterans whose country just did not take care of them after sending them to war to kill people. A lot of homeless people are people who ended up unemployed because of things like the stock market crashing.
Dude, and like, it is completely a failure on society, because like, we're literally letting, like, being homeless is the worst. It sucks. I mean, thank God it's like, I don't really know much about it, but like, that has to be the worst thing. I mean, you actually don't have basic necessities: water, food, shelter. and you're completely cast aside by society. People walk past you all the time, and maybe they'll throw you some change out of guilt to make themselves feel better, but like you're not even seen as, I mean, obviously this is my opinion, but and maybe this is exaggerating, but I feel like a lot of homeless people aren't even seen as people because you'd think that we wouldn't let that happen.
No,
And
I think you're 100% correct about that.
and like, yeah, you're right, dude. If you get screwed, sometimes when you keep getting screwed, it makes life it makes it a lot harder to bounce back. Like a lot harder to bounce back. And then the fact that, I don't know.
Because like people see homeless people as people you literally just shouldn't let approach you, people you shouldn't look in the eye. Like I always try to give money to homeless people, and even when
For
I
sure.
was younger, I remember seeing this homeless person come in to ask me and my aunt for money, and I remember getting kind of scared. I'm like, oh shit, there's a homeless guy coming to meet us, and he was like, hey guys, could you just like give me a couple of dollars? Like I haven't had anything to eat in a couple of days, and like I was scared of this guy, and like it's so fucked up. Somebody's telling me, yo, I haven't been able to eat food in the past couple of days, bro. I eat so much.
Yeah, me too. I know. And I'm kind of with you, man. I mean, I always try and I always try and like buy them food or something over, but that's just because I was raised with the stigma like, oh, like most homeless people just spend their money on drugs, and which is a terrible stereotype to have.
If you were homeless, wouldn't you want to get high?
Yeah, because it would. Yeah, exactly, dude. I mean, life is terrible. Like, what else are you gonna do?
I feel like people don't understand the things that like people make a hobby out of attacking homeless people in a lot of places in America. There's anti-homeless architecture exists. Like people put spikes on under bridges or near railroads, so you know people who have literally nowhere to go can't sleep there, and society doesn't want to do anything about it. Or you know, everybody's like, "Oh my God, look at these!" And in quarantine, we've been seeing people building all these mini houses. Like, "Oh my God, that's so adorable! You can get this little mini house and eat in front of a restaurant with your friends, bro." Like, you could just give that shit,
to a homeless
make that shit in mass production for people who don't have homes.
homes.
Like, do you realize how much more productive society could be if we actually decided to fix homelessness?
I completely agree, and it would also just be a better thing to do for most of the world. But again, that goes off like that's more mouths to feed, so that's more money out of, you know. I mean, it cuts back a lot, but I think I saw over quarantine, like, you know, how people would create those bubble tents, so everyone could safely do yoga while also social distancing.
Yeah,
bro. Like a yoga joint will spend all that money just so they can have their yoga classes that you could definitely forego. You could have just given that shit to homeless. Yeah, you could have just, dude, if you gave those tents to homeless people or let them sleep in there at night, do you know what a game changer that would be?
Like literally set up detachable homeless shelters.
Yeah.
Fuck.
And the worst part too, man, is because I've actually spoken with some people. When I was way back when I went to Baltimore, we went on this like dinner. It was like dinner on a ship, right? And then obviously it was buffet style, so they had a ton of food left over. That was obviously they have a ton of food left over, right? Yeah. And we asked them, we were like, "What do you do with all this extra food?" And they just said, "We throw it out." And we were like, "Whoa, why don't you donate it?" You know, something like that. And they said, if we donate this food, you know, and we give it to like a homeless person or just a bunch of homeless people or a shelter like that, and one of them chokes or has an allergic reaction, they can sue us. So we can't do that because we'll lose a bunch of money. And that blew my mind.
It always comes back to money.
Always comes back to money. And the worst part is like money. I mean, what do I know, right? Like we're still mad young. What do we know? But like, dude, money is poison, man. I mean, yeah, it's important. You need it because money literally allows you to live. Like, money's more than just it's the dollar or it's the value in your bank account. Like, it's that better health insurance. It's being able to get food when you need to. It's you know,
yeah,
comfort of the mind, but it always comes back to money.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with like, you know, working hard to get some money, because I ideally want to live a good life, and that good life requires money. So obviously I want to be able to work hard and get some money. But at the same time, I feel like desiring money without acknowledging its negative effects, like what the love of money can do to a person or what it's done to society as a whole, that
Hmm.
really can mess up your mindset, and you'll end up this just thing that lacks sympathy and just wants more and more and more.
It's it is weird. It's like the more you have, the less you have, kind of deal.
Yeah.
Um, bro, I think a lot about money.
Nah, same, same.
I mean, everybody does. You can't, and especially us right now. Like we're getting ready to graduate, and so like, oh, now you need to make all this money, but you can't help but think about money. But personally, my relationship with it has changed a lot. Um, in a way that like I used to be very money oriented, dude. I wanted to make bank and I wanted to make money, and like that's not all I cared about, but like I just wanted to make a fuck ton of money. And I was like, if I make a ton of money, then I can do a bunch of good and I can kind of do whatever I want, right?
Yeah.
Like I can donate it, I can start my charity, whatever, um, and whatever, a bunch of life experiences and putting it through the grinder later. Like, yes, obviously money is important, and I want to live a comfortable life for sure, but it's a lot less valuable to me now than it was a while ago. And I think I'm like kind of happier with my new relationship with money than I was then. I'm not so stressed. I don't want things that like fuck things. That's just a whole like dollar game.
Oh yeah, I
I'd
see.
Yeah, like, you'd rather kind of have like experiences in that community with people. You know, you can watch. You know, you don't need to watch the sunset off your yacht or off like the 12th story of an apartment in Manhattan. You can
Just
watch at the
watch a
beach for
sunset.
free or on a bench, right? Like that's where it's at.
Because a lot of the stuff that we really desire, right, is stuff that just does things cheaper things do in a fancier way. Like, oh yeah, I want this really expensive looking sports car. Like, bro, you're still gonna be driving it on the same street as that fucking Toyota
Same road.
that costs
Yeah.
like half as much.
You just get in your car and you get out. Unless if you're super into cars, you're super into cars, but
Like, unless you're gonna get a private racetrack and drive it around really fast and get the optimal speed of this machine, bro, it's just a car.
it is just a car. But at the same time, to completely flip on everything I just said, one thing quarantine has taught me is like, because I was watching Leticia Buffoni. She's a pro skater. She's sponsored. She made a bunch of bank, right? She was like,
Yeah.
she gave a crib tour basically during quarantine. She's like, look, I'm not really even doing quarantine, bro. She has a skate park in her backyard. She has a pool. She has a pool table. She basically has a like, their house is an amusement park. She's like, this is easy for me to do, right?
Yeah.
And so like that would be nice, but at the same time you live that life, dude, you totally forget that there's this huge, more people are poor than they are rich. So it's like I feel like you just created your own bubble, your own world, and it does make you a lot less empathetic, and there's no humility there.
You're right. And I think a goal for a lot of people, even if they don't know it, is to kind of create that bubble, to
Mm-hmm.
forget the world's problems and focus on themselves. Because once you become rich enough, the world's problems really stop being your problems.
Mm-hmm.
Because think about like laws that you can break, that if you break a law, it incurs a fine. For rich people, a law that charges money isn't really a law at all. They can just do whatever.
Yeah, it's legal by price.
And I feel like we as a society have perpetuated this myth of anybody can be exceptional, anybody can make a lot of money, and we point to all these notable people throughout history without really looking into their lives. Like, oh, if he did it, you can do it too.
Mm-hmm.
And people, like, for example, I'm a games major, and we studied the beginning of the games industry, like the big boom. This was in the 80s, where it
Yes.
was just a bunch of hippies in offices slapping together video game consoles,
Mm-hmm.
hooking up in the back rooms, like getting high at work. That kind of culture does not exist in the games industry anymore. It's all crunch and code and corporate dinners and work and making sure enough people pre-order your game to break even. But people still kind of point to this whole golden age of the start as what the games industry is, but that's not. And I feel And I feel like that's the big problem, right? That people are looking only towards the good part of the past and putting it in the present. But they're all, see,
Hmm.
that's the thing. They're acknowledging the evolution of these industries without acknowledging what the change has actually brought, because things aren't the same. Like you like you're not like people don't even stay the same. Are you the same person you were 2 years ago? Nah.
No.
But you expect this massive industry that's made up of people to be exactly the same. It doesn't work like that.
And it's become so disingenuous. Like you said, like it used to be, they used to have a lot of fun. They used to enjoy work. And they were putting out great things and they would be with people who enjoyed those great things. Right now, it's all just super crunch. It's just get it out as fast as you can, as cheap as you can, to as many people as you can.
Like, look at Cyberpunk 2077.
Oh,
God.
man.
I had no idea that Cyberpunk was gonna fumble the bag so
Yeah.
hard. Like, I feel like Cyberpunk is probably going to make a comeback, like
Oh,
kind
for
of
sure.
No Man's Sky style, like what they've done.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's a really good example of what the video game has become, because it was announced like what 10 years ago. There was so much hype,
Yeah.
but they rushed it into development over like what 4 years.
Yeah. They pretty much nailed it for PC. Like they did really, I mean, from what I understand, like they did really, really good.
If you have a really, really, really
beefy
strong fucking PC,
yeah, they built a very future heavy game. And the CEO, the head of it, he even came out. He actually did a big apology video. He was like, "Look, we did not give it enough love and care for consoles, especially older gen. So, I mean, they're trying to do everything they can kind of to fix it. But exactly, like if they had the time to make the game that they really wanted to make and had set out to make for everybody to play, they could have done it. But they were pressured to release it too quickly, which also came from the community. Like they were getting death
no, for
threats and
sure.
stuff. But
I think there are a lot of factors to lead into like how things are, but I think at the end of the day, it comes from people's kind of lack of acknowledgement of the complexity of things. Because it's like, because okay, a lot of people, when it comes to video games in particular, they see a problem in a game and it's like, oh, why didn't they just do this? You gotta understand that there really isn't that much why didn't they just when it comes to making a game, because unless it's being developed like by 3 people, these decisions have to go through channels. They have to, like these things. It's a process,
big process,
and this process usually costs, wait for it, money.
A lot of it. A ton of money, dude. Video games are not cheap to put out.
And that's another problem with money. People acknowledge they desire to make money, but they don't really understand how much money has to be spent to give them the things that they love.
Yeah.
Because, dude, nobody ever sets out to spend millions of dollars to make a bad movie, or millions of dollars to make a bad game or make a bad product. But it happens just based on how people receive it. And people receive things because they don't understand what goes into things. Dave Chappelle kind of said it well during one of his specials. He sees audience is like, oh, gimme. Oh, you're doing something that I don't like. Oh, you're canceled, blah, blah, blah. And cancel culture is a whole other thing that I'm not going to go into.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe that there is a massive disconnect between people and the world around them. And this disconnect allows them to have really ignorant thoughts about how things are going. Because even talking to people in our school about how they think the country works, or how they think the detail thing, like the whole fucking Trump presidency. Oh my god, I'm so glad that dickhead didn't become president again. Like, I am tired. I was so tired.
Amen.
That's the thing. Nobody wanted to acknowledge how dangerous Donald Trump is. Like, like ignorance is bliss. I understand that completely. We've done an episode on it.
Yeah.
But here's the problem with willful ignorance. Willful ignorance is what's fucking plaguing America. Because people like to think that their ignorance is just as good as fact. They're researched data, and it's not. Like, what's it that one fucking dickhead always says? Facts don't care about your feelings.
Yeah.
They just willingly want to ignore facts.
Yeah, facts they're hard to they can be hard to accept, and that's the thing. A lot of people will just willfully ignore them. Just pick their own narrative and they'll roll with that and accept that as reality when it's so far from it.
No, there really is a madness to it of how we let ourselves ignore things just based on how we feel or how we want to feel. Because like social media, because okay, so here's my thing about social media. I personally don't believe in going to social media to like have a bad time or mess your vibes up. So you can just block things. You can like on Twitter you can block words you don't want to see. You can block accounts you don't want to see.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all good, but that's social media. That's not real life. Taking that kind of logic into real life is very dangerous.
Super dangerous.
Because once you have to get forcibly exposed to the real world, you're not going to know what you have to do. You're not going to be prepared for anything. And I keep talking about, the real world. Like, I'm not 21 and in fucking college.
Right?
But, like, you need to be prepared for how rude, like, the planet is.
It's incredible. I mean, yeah, I think I completely agree with what you're saying. We basically just, we're not ready for it, or we're so detached from reality. But kind of to talk about, I read so there's this writer slash comic. He does really insightful things, or just really stupidly funny things. But basically, what I kind of learned from reading one of his strips is that the reason that we hate getting information that contradicts our own beliefs and our core values, right, is because we process it the same as like an actual physical predator coming to kill us. So how like yeah, no, it goes to I'm pretty sure it goes to the same part of your brain lights up. So like how like you hear a tiger that's about to attack you and you get ready to fight this tiger. Not that that's ever happened to any of us. When you hear like somebody saying like Jesus wasn't real, or his name was Jesus and he's not white, it's like, whoa, I'm gonna fucking beat the shit out of this tiger. And that's kind of why I think it's safe to assume that's a big reason as to why.
No, for sure. Also, yeah. Side note, Jesus definitely wasn't fucking white.
Not even close.
Not
at all. The dude was freaking all these, Middle Eastern.
All these dudes on the internet like, nah, Jesus was a beautiful white man with blue eyes and blonde hair.
Nah. Blue eyes and blonde hair. Oh my god. His name was Adolf. Like yeah, you can pick your own narrative and your own timeline.
But it is kind of impressive, though, the power of the human mind to just convince itself of shit that's completely fucking ridiculous.
But think about that, right? Take that we have the ability to completely pretend we're living in a perfect world and we're living in this totally just world, and we can run with that, right? Like our brains actually do enough rejecting, filtering, and cleaning to present us with that virtual reality, basically, like that matrix of a life. And just imagine if we actually used all of that properly, right? Like we didn't filter all this crap out and we actually accepted the fact that we're living in a very unjust world and it's really fucked up. And we tried to do something about it. And maybe you open a little Reddit chain and you fuck over a fuck ton of people with hedge funds. Like
you decide to cyberbully all of Wall Street.
And yeah, and that was
something incredible might happen.
A small group of people quickly, like they started a fucking fire, man. They cyberbullied the shit out of a bunch of billionaires, and now it's a problem. Like, it's great.
History has been almost entirely defined by small groups of people, leading to large-scale change. And we live in a society where people are always waiting for somebody to lead them to something. They're like, oh no, I can't be the change. See, people always want change, right? But they don't want to be the change. That's the paradox of humans expecting change.
Yeah, I'm sorry, man.
No, it's fine, because if you're not gonna do it, who will? Like, you might as well just try.
It is incredible when you actually just commit to something and you send it, and I don't know, it can be crazy sometimes. Sometimes it really works out, sometimes it doesn't, but that's just how life is.
So yeah, maybe we remember, if you listen to the first episode of our podcast, we reminded you that nothing matters and we're all gonna die.
Yes.
And just because nothing matters doesn't mean that you don't matter. It doesn't mean that people don't matter. If you decide to believe that you matter and that people matter, then they matter. So you should take your belief and do something good with it.
You know, I think you bring up something well, because we it's all on us, essentially. You know, like, we really like to throw responsibility and the blame to other people, and we don't like to accept the fact that our life is, and very, I mean, obviously there's uncontrollable circumstances, right? You're dealt cards, but you really get to pick how you can arrange them, and like, just know that, yeah, absolutely nothing fucking matters. Like, completely nothing. If you believe nothing matters, then nothing matters, right? But you actually, that gives you this beautiful freedom to pick exactly what you want to matter to you.
So yeah, you can literally just go full send, bully some billionaires, or when a girl rejects you, you can full send, sit down and think, maybe I'm the problem. Like, you're capable of doing all these things, but people just don't want to do them because it makes them uncomfortable. And bro, discomfort is a part of existence. Like, think about giving birth. Discomfort literally led to your existence. I feel like people don't understand this.
Dude, discomfort actually makes you a better person. And if you have a comfort zone and you're trying to stay in it, fuck yourself. Fuck your little bubble. Get the fuck out of it. From the Low High Podcast with love.
Don't be a dickhead. Care about something. Nothing matters. Figure out what matters to you. Then fucking do it.
And we're not telling you what to do, but go buy some GameStop stocks.
Just a light suggestion.
Light suggestion.
Anyway, thank you all so much for joining us. We hope to bring you many more somewhat insightful episodes throughout this year as history keeps being made every month.
Or every day, bro. We got new history twice a week.
And we just like to remind you, if you're feeling high or if you're feeling low,
you always got a place to go.
Thank you for joining us.
And if you guys wouldn't mind, you can reach us out on social media. So like Instagram, tell us what you want to hear. Tell us what we suck at. Tell us what we're good at or okay at.
All of our handles are at Low High Podcast. Feel free to comment on the episodes you hear. Say what you like, say what you didn't like. And if you did like it, maybe share it with one or two friends.
That would mean a lot. If you like this episode, share it with one friend is what we ask of you. Maybe two or more. That'd be lovely.
And if you don't like it, tell us why it's shit.
Yeah. Tell us why it's shit. We're open to that uncomfortable we're open to that feedback, and we'll make a change about it.
Because remember, nothing matters, so we're willing to change.
For sure. Thank you very much for listening, everybody.